District play in Class 4A is quite literally right around the corner. By the time you guys are seeing this, we are about 48 hours from kickoff in Class 4A for district play. And again, here at IA Football, we're trying to bring you guys something new. So we had our rankers pick our district winners before the district start. We've seen each team play four non-district games. And now, as you guys know, district play starts, and district play is important. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the playoff format for Class 4A. We're going to have 16 teams qualify. 6 of those will be district champions. 6 of those will be district runner-up. So again, district play is huge. You can be 0-4 in non-district, run your table in the district, and still get in pretty comfortably. You just might not have the best seed. But nevertheless, you finish top 2 in your district, you are automatically into the playoffs. And then we're going to have 4 wild cards that are RPI based. And RPI is the algorithm that the state uses to determine basically who's the best teams outside of the district champs and the district runner-ups. RPI is big for determining the seeding and home and aways for champs and runner-ups and whatnot. So again, that is how the playoff format works in Class 4A. A lot of weight is put on these district games, so we wanted to go ahead and take our time and pick some district champions for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and start with district number 1 in Class 4A, and we see Lamar's. And really, I think it's doubtful that anyone in this district even beats them. This is a really, really favorable district for Lamar's. You got Denison, Fort Dodge, Storm Lake, Sioux City West, and Spencer. Now, there are some teams that you could see playing some spoiler. Denison, they played Glenwood close. You got Storm Lake. They're a solid team. And then Spencer might be one of the best 0-4 teams in the state of Iowa. They've had Humboldt, Webster City, Spirit Lake, and Sioux Center, all really quality teams. They've suffered losses too. So Spencer could be a spoiler, but right now it's really Lamar's district to lose at this point. They already have some nice wins over SBL and Boyden Hull Rock Valley by pretty big margins, and kind of looking at what Lamar's brings to the table. They're not going to throw the ball a ton. They're going to run the ball, and their guy is Teagan Castle. He also plays quarterback. He's got 350 on the ground and 3 touchdowns. They also have Jude Doherty and Giovanni Kabongo, who both have over 100 yards passing. So, again, Lamar's a pretty favorable district for them, you can say. They look like the favorite in this one. So, not much to discuss there in 4A District 1. So, we're going to move on to 4A District 2, where it's another one where we kind of see a clear-cut winner, Western Dubuque. It's really theirs to lose. You got Decorah, Marion, and Waverly Shell Rock could all make a push for second. Waverly Shell Rock, another team that is 0-4 but has had an extremely tough schedule. They've played North Scott, Xavier. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. They played Bondurant. So really good teams that Waverly Shell Rock has played, so they could make an interesting push for second. But at the end of the day, this is Western Dubuque to lose. They are the number 1 team in Class 4A right now. They've already got some nice wins. Their one loss to Xavier, 20-22, but they came back the next week and they beat North Scott 31-24. They got a nice win over West Delaware, 61-27. That's looking even better right now, following what West Delaware just did to Webster City. So again, this team, this is their district to lose, and they've got some studs. Tanner Anderson, their quarterback, he's got 668 through the air and 8 touchdowns. And the big name is Grant Gloucester, their running back. Whereas the number 10, he's got 9 rushing touchdowns, 906 yards on the ground, 9.5 yards per carry. And most notably, he did have that 400-plus yard rushing game last week against North Scott. This, again, like I said, this is the number 1 team in Class 4A right now. And it's really, really hard to envision them dropping another game the rest of the way. They'll start their district play with Waverly Shell Rock. So it could be interesting, but that's a home game for them. So really, our ranker sees this as Western Dubuque's to lose. Moving on to 4A, District 4A, number 3, I believe. And this one we've got North Scott as I pull up District 3 in Class 4A. And this one I think is really going to be decided next week. This is one that there's not a clear front runner. There's kind of two top dogs in this one, and it's North Scott and it's Xavier. These two teams face off next week. It's one that I'm looking at going to and bringing the camera to just because of how big of a game it is. But Xavier kind of uncharacteristically dropping 2 games in the non-district, so I think that's where our 4A ranker went with this, picking North Scott. Again, this game happens next week, and likely the winner is the district champ, and the loser is kind of looking at a second place finish here. A lot of good competitive teams in here: Burlington, Oskaloosa, Clue Creek, Amana, and Clinton. But at the end of the day, there's 2 top dogs at the front of this one, and North Scott. 1 blemish so far, and it's to the number 1 team in the state of Iowa, or to the number 1 team in Class 4A, to Western Dubuque. But nevertheless, they have a 14-point win over Assumption. They have a big win over Waverly Shell Rock. They have a big win over Central DeWitt, and a big reason for that is Kyler Girardi, their quarterback, the North Dakota State commit. 800 yards passing, 9 touchdowns passing. He's got 500 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns rushing. So, I mean, he's a handful to stop. He spreads it out. He's got 3 targets, 3 receivers that have 200+ yards receiving. So, really a tough offense to stop, and it's just a team that's playing really well right now. And yeah, with him at the helm, it gives them a good shot. So it's going to be North Scott and Xavier next Friday, squaring off, likely for that district from how we see it. Always could be a spoiler, but that's how we're seeing that one turn out. As we move on to the next district, Bondurant Farrar in district number 4. I pull this one up. This one, you got some teams really competing, but Bondurant, just after their win over Lewis Central, a really big win for them. They kind of needed that one. It really boosts their stock a lot. But I tell you what, a team outside of Bondurant Farrar that I personally could see is the only team in Class 4A at this point to be undefeated, and that is the Gilbert Tigers. They are number 10 in our poll. And again, like I said, the only team in Class 4A to be undefeated at this point, which is pretty bonkers to say, and I don't think anyone was expecting that before the year. But nevertheless, everyone else has a blemish. Bondurant's coming to North Polk in week 1, a 39-43 loss. But since then, they've gone on a tear. Grinnell, 40-0 win. Waverly Shell Rock, 55-7 win. And then last week, a really good win over Lewis Central, 36-26 at home. Really got them going. And this team has some stars. Everyone thinks Titus Cram, and good for good reason. He is one of the stars. But if you just focus on him, the other guys are going to beat you. And those other guys, Jordan Ryle and Reed Pletzgraf. Reed has 497 yards catching and 6 touchdowns. That's top 5, I know, in Class 3A. I just looked at it. And then Jordan Ryle, he's completing 57% of his passes. He's got 700 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. So, again, if you focus on Titus Cram, those other guys are going to beat you. And I know that's how some teams are going to want that team to beat you. But at the end of the day, they got enough weapons to go about it in different ways. And speaking of Titus Cram, he leads their team in total tackles on defense, which I think is pretty impressive. He's got 23 solo tackles, and I know he does the kickoff duties for them. He does it all. He's got 2 interceptions, 1 being a pick 6. Reed Pletzgraf has a pick 6. I mean, it's a team that just puts up numbers, and it's a team that we see winning that district. And you got some other teams that are going to compete. Newton, they've been in our top 10. You got Pella. They've played spoiler already, beating Xavier. So that's a team that could go out and compete. You got Carlisle. They were in the Dome last year. So a really interesting district here, District 4A4. But I think the front runner in that one is Bondurant, and I'd be pretty surprised if it was anything but them. But this is one where you could see 2 or 3 wildcard spots being taken by some of these teams that don't finish top 2. So a really interesting district right there. As we move on to the next one, district number 5, ADM. This one is going to be a ton of fun, and it's looking like it's going to come down to the final week. This district, I'll rattle off the teams really quick. ADM, Boone, North Polk, Ballard, Indianola, and Des Moines North. And as our 4A ranker puts it, North Polk is ranked higher, but I believe that ADM ends up beating him. These two are teams that are better than everyone else in the district, but Indianola has shown they can play spoiler at times. Again, that was our Class 4A ranker that I just read off right there. And ADM, again, they've got a blemish too, just like just about everybody in Class 4A. That came to Lewis Central in week 3, 31-38. But at the end of the day, this one is probably going to come down to week number 9, where ADM hosts North Polk. Again, North Polk ranked higher than them right now. But again, that's going to come down to that final week. ADM just coming off a stomping of Norwalk 47-14, and they're led by what might be the best player in the entire Class 4A, their quarterback, Aiden Flora. Just gaudy numbers, really. 72% completion percentage. He's got 580 passing yards, 6 touchdowns passing, and on the ground, he's got 870 yards rushing. He is averaging 11.2 yards per carry when he runs the ball, and he's got 12 rushing touchdowns. So Aiden Flora, I'm pretty sure he's the total touchdown leader in Class 4A at this point. He is just an absolute star. Again, they lost Brevin Dole. I haven't heard an update on what his timetable is or if he's done. Either way, hoping he recovers quickly for his time at Iowa. That was a big loss, but it just proves that even without their Division I commit running back, this team is still one of the perennial contenders in Class 4A just because of their man under center, Aiden Flora. And they got other stars too. I know Steinsmith, Forgy. They're going to need some guys to step up. Scholl, I know he scored a touchdown in the game I was at Lewis Central. And their defense is playing better. Obviously, last week they just shut down a 1,000-yard passer and basically blanked them for most of the game. So ADM is going to need some other guys to step up, but with number 2 under center, they're going to have a shot in just about any game. So, again, we see ADM taking that district number 5, along with Boone, North Polk, Ballard, Indianola, and Des Moines North. Again, we got ADM there. But we will move on to our final district as I pull it up. Lewis Central here. And this is another one that's really, really competitive. 4A is just proving to be a really competitive class overall, and this district is no different. You got Council Bluffs, Jefferson, Glenwood, Norwalk, Lewis Central, Winterset, and Dallas Center Grimes. Really, the top 3 that we see, Glenwood, Norwalk, and Lewis Central. It's going to be really interesting. Lewis Central and Glenwood play this week, so that's going to go a long ways into determining this district winner. But at the end of the day, our ranker sees Lewis Central. They've had a really, really tough non-district. They test themselves, as you could see. I mean, this non-district, I think, could be up there with anybody in terms of difficulty. Opening with Harlan, then you go home against Creston, then you go at ADM, at Bondurant. So each of those teams has been top 5 at some point in their respective class. Obviously, Harlan and Creston being 3A, but nonetheless, 4 top 5 teams to start your year isn't too bad, and they competed in every single one of those. They beat Harlan, they beat ADM, and they lost to Crescent, and they lost to Bondurant Farrar. So a really tough non-district for them. I know they probably don't like their record at this point, but you know it's going to test them, and they're prepared in those tight games when district play comes, and they get a big one this week against Glenwood. That one's at Lewis Central, so a home game for them. Glenwood, obviously, home to Caden Anderson, one of the better quarterbacks in the class, but Lewis Central, they have one in their own, and Brady Hetzel, obviously replacing Camrad last year, a state runner-up team. But as I try and pull up their stats, Brady Hetzel, 900 yards passing, 8 touchdowns. It's a team that can beat you in many ways. They got 3 running backs they really like: Chance Chappell, Brody Patlin, and Camden Cross. I know one of them was injured in the game I was at in ADM, but nevertheless, you can see they got guys ready to step up, and they got Curtis Whitty and Lual Maker, 2 of the better receiving duos, Whitty and Maker. Whitty has 378 yards, Maker has 232. So really just a ton of weapons on each side of the ball. They got Owen Thomas on the defensive side. He's their kind of leader and their voice of their defense. But nevertheless, a really competitive district here between Glenwood, Norwalk, and Lewis Central. Kind of the top 3 that we see right here, and really one of the most intriguing districts in Class 4A. But that's all I got for you guys. 6 district winners. I know it causes some controversy picking your school, not picking your school. We just wanted to provide something different for you guys before district play starts and kind of give you guys our thoughts and ideas as we head into this crucial time during the Iowa high school football season. So leave a comment. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. We love reading those. It shows you guys are listening, and we appreciate you guys for listening. But this was our 4A district projections. So appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see how these turn out. Catch you guys later.